News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a very good morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the News First studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And Colombo, unfortunately, today, this morning, is wet. It's damp. So need to be extra careful when you're dashing around there in your nanos, for which you've paid loads and loads of taxes, and the taxes have even got higher. That's because you've got a smaller car, and it obviously isn't as valuable as the bigger cars, the gas guzzlers. But then we live in a different type of an economy. Some people say a collapsing economy, and others say that it's really doing so badly it's not worth talking about. To talk about current affairs and give us his own take on Sri Lanka's state of affairs is Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. Very good morning to you, Mr. Gunawardena.
Good morning, Faraz.
And thank you for coming here. Rains and everything notwithstanding, you're here.
Luckily, we have the exams on, so no traffic.
Ah, no traffic, yes. But what a tragedy, the railway strike, the wildcat strike, called at about 3 o'clock on that particular day, when people done exams, they're getting ready to go home, and then they have a wild strike.
No, not at all. I don't agree.
No, don't agree?
Well, the cabinet instigated the strike.
Oh, really?
Cabinet approved the salary increase.
Yeah.
The cabinet paper came up for the next Tuesday to be confirmed. Then objections were raised. That is what caused the strike.
But
because
surely
the ministers had informed the unions that everything is okay. Cabinet has approved. After the cabinet minutes are approved, it will be implemented. So when you pull back, obviously when they were told after the cabinet meeting that they are not going to come through for some time, they went on strike because they were taken up the garden path. The president has intervened after 3 or 4 days of the strike.
What about, Mr. Dinesh, what about the people's inconvenience?
People have had to face inconvenience. This is a situation that the government should have immediately settled. Now, President has given assurance. The same assurance could have been given by the minister.
Why is it that in Sri Lanka you have to wait for the boss man to do everything?
Because we have over 50 ministers and another 50 deputy ministers. No one works.
So no one works? No
one works. It's collapsing. So, sad to say, the most recent report of the Finance and Central Bank says 47 ministries are under performance. Not just under, less than 50% performance. Of course, they are having vehicle, they are having a flag and the security.
And 55 ministers have had additional 200,000 fuel allowance.
Additional 200,000 for government selected MPs.
So
who's paying? Who's paying?
They're part of the government.
They're part of the government for doing. They say for working for the government. So anyhow, all are working for the government.
Yes. Why are these 55 special? Is it a bribe?
To keep the government going, obviously.
To keep the majority.
To keep the majority, keep them happy at the markets and face the price rise. Why? Inflation is galloping. The governor says no inflation. I mean, I respect the governor because he comes from my old school, but I don't think he's telling the truth.
Royal. Oh, really? Is he being economical with the truth?
He's been very economical and very diplomatic, but I think he knows that the situation is very bad.
Do you think he's accepted this job and it's more than he bargained for?
No, he has been sitting on such crisis offices abroad too. But obviously he accepted perhaps wanting to do better work.
Right.
But it's not happening. Performance by the jumbo cabinet has failed. That's what the problem he's having.
Now then, I want to say this. because we're still talking about the governor and the central bank, the governor is very well respected, and we respect him as well from here at our network. But Mr. Dinesh, I hope this is not boring, but it's about Bond 2. Now then, in Bond 1, I'll get back to the governor's role in a second, but in Bond 1, the Commission of Inquiry found that Arjuna Mahendran had acted outside of his remit as the governor of the central bank and had acted mala fide and passed on price-sensitive information to his son-in-law's company, Perpetual Treasuries. And they noted that, subject to magisterial decision, the Arjuna Mahendran himself would be liable to a penalty, a fine, and that Perpetual Treasuries were liable to at least twice the loss suffered by EPF, which their lordships had calculated with the help of the Auditor General and so on, at a little bit over 8,500 million. Now, my maths isn't that good, but that times 2, which is twice the fine, is 17 billion. 17 billion, in case anyone missed it, with a B, right? Now, plus the 8,500 original loss, which is about 25 billion. The exposure of Perpetual Treasuries is around 25 billion. Now, whilst this bond was raging, the Prime Minister, as the Minister in charge of the subject, didn't do anything apart from defend Arjuna Mahendran, saying that there was no evidence of wrongdoing. Right. He carries on, and his son-in-law participates in what we call Bond 2, where a take-up of 40 billion, or a requirement of 40 billion, became a take-up of 77 billion. Perpetual was the principal beneficiary of that, as the largest single dealership. Now then, the Bond Commission's term finishes on the 31st of March 2016. That's the date when the second bond is issued. All right? So they say they haven't got their period doesn't extend, but they suggest that the central bank carry out a forensic audit of all the trades done by Perpetual, saying that it is only then that the true extent of the damage to Sri Lanka's economy will become apparent. Now, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, that commission report was handed to the President, some people say via a private residence. Leave that on the side.
In Sri Lanka or private?
We don't know where it went. Whether it went to Singapore or whether it went elsewhere. We don't know. And we don't know if it ever went anywhere but the President's place. Anyway, from December 31st to now, it's a good coming up to 8 months. And unfortunately, this forensic audit has not been carried out. And in the meantime, whilst this thing is in abeyance, the Prime Minister and his mate, Malik Samaravikrama, they say, Tamba Satayak me ratata paduak velane. Really? Really? And they point out to the 12 billion approximately that's stuck in the central bank. They're not talking about the second bond, Bond 2. What happened to those? Vasanta Samar was thinking the other day, he said that the profits must be in excess of over 25 billion. And they've only declared about 12. So my point is this: the governor of the central bank, terribly nice man that he is and respected and so on, appears to be having some difficulty in getting this forensic audit sorted out. And he'll be on the phone now on this SMS and say, well, we've initiated the process, we've put out the ads and we are in the process, but there is no urgency. What's happening, Mr.
Yeah, I think
there's no urgency.
In fact, I agree with you on the main points that you mentioned. The bond scan was one of the worst And right throughout the economy, it has had its effects. One, the massive billion robbery. Two, no legal action being taken. Three, no action being taken in a proper manner to take back the funds that have gone in the wrong way. All these three, government is responsible. We have moved in opposition. We opposition members have raised this, exposed this, bond 1, and as you say, the bond 2, and we have met the governor a couple of times. Governor has assured us, but
I'm sorry,
nothing
Mr.
has happened.
Gunawardena. We're in a hurry. The people of this country are in a hurry. The war finished in 2009, and we appear to be still struggling with our new war, the war on getting ahead economically. And what we've been met with are parliamentarians, legislators who appear not to be in any hurry whatsoever. Now I just want to say something. This is not the Prime Minister time, but I'm just saying what I've seen in the papers. The Prime Minister said, talking about reconciliation, at this event opening those Indian houses, he said, reconciliation is very much happening in the north, in the former conflict areas. And the reasons he says is, his proof is that these people, that there are more people visiting Jaffna now from the south, and vice versa, that there's a lot of people from Jaffna and the former conflicts visiting to see how Colombo looks like. That's how he's being quoted in one of the papers. Now, is that reconciliation, is it?
Yeah, I think according to the Prime Minister, he seems to be only happy with that.
So where are the direct flights from Katunayake to Palali?
No, it's short.
Or to Katunayake to
Faraz,
Chilko?
it is perhaps faster to get from London to Colombo
Well,
than from London to Jaffna.
Yes,
I mean,
because I think 10 hours on the Sri Lankan direct flight.
Extra trains, extra buses, and people will be visiting.
Yeah.
But the problems of the people of the northern province has not been addressed to properly.
So there doesn't seem to be a commitment.
There is a commitment. The Prime Minister makes statements, what is just mentioned about the Tamba Satyaak.
Yeah.
Of course, today we don't have Tamba.
No, we don't. No.
So we don't. So you can't take it seriously because he knows there's no Tamba Satyaak, which is even valuable for the Tamba.
Now this is what annoys me about him. He says things that are legally correct. Legally correct.
Legally, or but what can be sold?
But shall we remind? Let's say that he, for a moment, it's debatable, but let's just say on the side that he's not responsible. He's the minister in charge of the subject of the central bank, and he's not responsible for his actions. He said he insists on the change. Let's say that he's not responsible for that either. All right? Let's just pretend, because we live in this pretend democracy.
We have the commission reports.
Yes.
One can't say he's not responsible.
Yes,
he's
but
subject
even that,
minister.
Yes, but even that commission report, I know that a lot of good has come out of it. But what's the point? Because they asked for this audit on the second bond. Nothing's happened. Nobody seems to be in any rush. Malik Samaravickrama was reported to have been visiting the central bank quite often during bond 1. Yeah?
It's all in record.
Yes, all in the record. And Arjuna Mahendan was found out to be a complete liar because it's all in the record.
Not a Sri Lankan citizen.
And he's not a Sri Lankan citizen. but he denied that he ever went to the dealing room. Apparently he was just outside there. So you see what I mean? They hang on legal niceties.
No, let them fight it out and live, if it's possible, before courts. This type of thing should be held, I think, daily on a run, because it has affected the whole economy. Parliament is being deprived of the commission reports just for minor.
What do you think about Mr. Sumandra?
He raised an objection that it's not available in all 3 languages. Upheld by the speaker.
In which language does he communicate with you when he meets you on the
in English. He speaks.
Do you think he can speak
Sinhala
English
fluently also? Sinhala fluently.
Oh.
Yeah, able lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, respective.
And he can't understand English.
No, he can't understand English or Sinhala, and so many pages of the report has still not come.
Yeah.
The former secretary said they are not being, he is unable to release everything.
Yeah.
And now he is promoted as our High Commissioner in Delhi. I wish him all success in Delhi. This is the way our Parliament is. Parliament is supposed to be supreme. Even the court says, our Supreme Court says Parliament is supreme. They can do any wrong. We can't interfere.
Now then, I want to ask you this. You're a parliamentarian, right? And with many years of experience there. The sanctity of Parliament and the parliamentary privilege, is that meant to just name and shame people and forget all about it?
It seems to be under the Speaker. I'm sorry, the Speaker has the Prime Minister on one side for us.
Yeah.
That operates like this.
But I want to ask you another thing here. The Prime Minister was in Parliament. He named various people. He makes statements that are wide in its nature. For example, he said, I insisted on the change of the way the bonds were issued because under the last government, he said there was corruption. He's yet to prove one of those. It's for nearly 4 years. It would be nice. It would be nice if he backed up his statements.
Not only nice, he should deliver what he says, not just make statements.
Yes, but he
is able to make statements as a Prime Minister's day when he takes the opportunity and make a statement. After that, another month goes. He is on a political survival track.
But
he got a mandate, a shocking mandate on the 10th of February where he lost everything in the country.
Do you think he likes his party? Do you think he loves his party?
I think he loves his party, but he doesn't love the men who are there because they are creating enough impatience.
But there are others in the background who are actually, even though it doesn't appear that way, who are actually fighting for the party because they're fighting the very fact that the party is being led by somebody who doesn't deserve to lead the United National Party.
Yeah, this is what we hear and read, but when it comes, they all raise their hands for the wrong. And they come out and say, we are fighting against RW. Is it only RW? The entire government is on wrong track. The damage is being done by every corner, every corner.
How can
yesterday, the leader of the House, Honorable Kirial,
yes,
I was hearing a statement that he had declared presidential election would be coming in January.
Who the hell is he? Sorry, but who is he to do that? What's his role?
Who is he?
What is his locus standi? Is that what you know I say?
Is he Parliament, or is he the Commission of Elections?
Yeah.
Or is he the President to declare such an election? If it is so, the whole country will gear now to a presidential election in January.
Do you think power has encompassed his brain cells?
I don't know. Perhaps they are repeating things that have been told elsewhere without thinking what the consequences would be.
The Prime Minister, you said that he doesn't. You said he loves the men there, or he doesn't love the men. Well, he doesn't love the men, but he loves a few of them.
That I don't know, because he had conceded and given ministerial, deputy ministerial posts plus another 200,000 to specially selected UNPs.
So there are 55 of them.
55. Everyone has been accommodated. Everyone who was rioting against the Prime Minister has been accommodated with a portfolio.
Is that a nice word for bribe? Accommodated, you said.
Yeah, legally it's perhaps the equal of the term.
Do you think that they are in love with him, or is it the other way around? Is he in love with them?
Is he the UNP Faraz? to face facts, they have been in opposition for 25 years, except for a very short period.
Yeah.
So they don't want to go and do something correct and get back to opposition again. The number one priority of our country today, politics have come only for power, not to serve the country. The cancer that has set in. Whether this is the battle that the backbenchers are having. What have they delivered? If so, how did the voters react in February? I mean, it's very clear.
The role of the opposition is also a role. It's not that you, when you're not in power, that you curl up and go home. In that context, what has the opposition, if you are to be very pure and clinical in your assessment, can you give me a good clinical assessment of what the opposition have done during these last nearly 4 years now?
It is our opposition, the JO, that has been able to raise issues that concerns the country, the economy, democracy, as well as the rights of the people. Others have just been raising their hand and voting the so-called official opposition. Have you seen an official opposition not disagreeing with the government in this manner? If not for JOs raising these issues, starting from the bond issue.
So how can we chase them away?
For elections.
How can we chase them away?
People have chased them away except for the Speaker. Speaker is just saying this is the official opposition because he has to have the government's opposition. Elections, when people were deprived from, starting from Colombo municipality to right across the country, it is we who fought for 2 years agitation, continuous agitation to hold elections because the local authorities in the country must function.
What is the role of
one of the key members of the government? And
on what basis?
I guess my colleague, the former finance minister, might not agree that he is the key man of the UNP. But former minister, finance minister,
had to go. Yeah.
Had to go.
He had to go.
So who's stronger? It's very clear. Malik is stronger than Ravi.
But why?
Obviously, because
is that because Ravi loves Malik more than he
perhaps
loves?
Malik has been.
Does he love Ravi at all?
Maybe that Malik has been able to deliver.
Deliver what?
Deliver in a better way for the UNP than others. I mean, it's clear. It's clear. He must be having a strong clout on the UNP plus of running government.
Is that a good qualification? Just because you...
Coming back, it is all for power today. It's sad. The politicians of yesterday is no more. People who stand for principled policies, and as a result, the country is going downhill. We are in the biggest debt crisis today. The government is covering up the most severe crisis that we are facing today. Government goes on, and as you say...
why is it that when they borrow $1 billion, but the loan is in Chinese yuan, why is it that they're celebrating as if they did something mega?
Then they can mislead and fool the country. You know, the yuan itself has been devalued in the last 2-3 weeks. Yuan is also facing devaluation, but it's the strongest economy after US. Bonds, we are investing in bonds. Bonds could be the disaster that we might face now. If bonds are cashed, you know, overnight it collapses. We see what is happening in Turkey. It's running across. Anything can happen in this crisis with the trade war with China and the US, trade war with Russia and the US, and threatening all other countries that have trade with Iran.
I didn't realize that reconciliation, I'm going back to this because it was very irksome to read. I didn't realize that reconciliation was only about getting more people to visit Colombo and more people from Colombo to visit out there to the north. Is that all it is? It's so simple then.
Yeah, it's at least you can say that it's so simple, but it's not so simple.
But he
That's
makes
Prime
it
Minister's
sound.
statement.
Yes.
But people, I think it's much more that we have to reconcile in our society.
Have you reached a point in your life in Parliament that you are exasperated by the continuous statements made by your former schoolmate, Ranil Wickremesinghe? You know, aren't you fed up that this supposedly experienced, well-read gentleman, lawyer as well to boot, is making these so shallow statements? Reconciliation is happening, he says, because there are more people who visit Jaffna and the north-northeast than ever before, and the other way around.
And the economy is good because the Tambasatayak.
Because no Tambasat, and of course he's right, as you pointed out, we don't have copper now anymore.
You know, I have gone through this for years and years.
So aren't you fed up?
Prime Minister, whether in government or in opposition, a well-read man, educated to say, he can make statements to mislead the entire country. But we are getting ready to send this government home. People will send this government home at the earliest opportunity when they get.
Really? Is this going to happen for real?
This is happening because not only the average man or the political party, the business world is today in unstable situation. All our national industries from Jaffna to Colombo, they are all in doubt.
What have you done about Volkswagen?
Volkswagen came and it's been driven well, manufactured and driven well, and exported through Hambantota. It's the biggest joke.
Have you asked Malik Samarikam about this? He's the Minister of International Trade. Have you bumped into him?
No, he's Minister for Investment. He says, yes, I approved the investment, but it had not taken now. Thereafter, it's not...
So can you see the connection? You ask him that, this is what he says. He said, I'm in investment, so I got the investment. The compliance bit is, what he's trying to say is that compliance is not his problem. All right then. Don't you see a connection with what the Prime Minister did? He appointed Arjuna Mahendran, and now he says, well, I don't know where he is. He's moved, and he's ever so helpful. Before we got there to Cuscaden Road, before we got there, he said, oh well, Arjuna Mahendran is in the habit, like Singaporeans, of moving home. So how did he know that then? How did he, if he's not been in touch with his mate, one-time mate, how did he know that?
We have...
How did he know?
All our top brass of this government has been in Singapore so many times after Arjuna Mahendran did go to Singapore.
If you jump in the Indian Ocean around our coast, you'll be struck by clinical waste that has been dumped towards our shores.
That we welcome, because that is the agreement that we have signed. We welcome all this stuff, garbage to come into the country. Today
but
we
did you know that,
the project
did you know that
garbage.
Did you know that the Singapore-Sri Lanka FTA, there's one section there, that Sri Lanka will accept nuclear waste?
Yeah, not only nuclear
but
waste.
we can't, if in the event we had it, we can't, it's not, that particular component is not reciprocal.
And the President will say, I don't know about this treaty we have signed, because we are obliged to abide by certain treaties that we have signed. Even climate change, environment, we are violating everything. Not only that, the Singapore Free Trade Agreement that was signed has not been approved by Parliament yet, and it's being gazetted. It's all violation of...
So complete, again I'm going to it, it's becoming as famous as the word bond in Sri Lanka, and that is departure from process. Departure from due process. That's what marks this government.
Yes, I think I would like to tell you, we should try and read this book, The Man Who Robbed Portugal.
The Man Who Robbed Portugal.
It's an interesting book.
Right.
Now, in that book, the man robbed the central bank of Portugal.
What happened to him?
Went to another country, established a financial institution.
Yeah.
There was crisis, the economic crisis, ended up in a dictatorship of Salazar for 35 years. Are we heading to such a crisis with Arjuna Mahendran operating from outside and a possible collapse of our economy and democracy?
Well, thank you very much. Dinesh Gunawardena, thank you very much. I'm a bit exasperated.
Appreciate
they always talk about, by the way, in case you miss it, they always say that the debt crisis is because of your term under President Rajapaksa for nearly 10 years. That's why we've got so much of debt.
Much more. 3 years they are in office.
Right.
3 years is a long period for us.
All right. We'll need to talk to your son Yadamin and get your diary sorted out so you can come on our longer program, Face the Nation, which broadcasts on Monday night. You can sort that out. There'll be less traffic in the night anyway. Right, come over there and Shamir Rasuddin will be happy to host you there and we can discuss this a bit better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh Gunawardena. We appreciate it and we do hope that you try and knock some sense into your friend who happens to lead it. All right, then that's the way it was on Newsline this wet but wonderful morning on this land that we call paradise. Take care. God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.